What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the 27th episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. I'll take a page out of Kevin's book. Let's honor the 27th episode will be Kareem Hunt's episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. Cleveland's own Kareem Hunt. So we got a few things to talk about here this evening. Obviously, I'm Jerome. That's Kevin. Derek's over there. As I always say, you can't see him, we can, but I promise you he is over there, and he's clicking buttons and making things happen. But let's get right into, I think, something that adds to a long list of things that have happened, and that is the Cavs. We are recording this, just a little housekeeping here, on Wednesday. The Cavaliers played last night. They're down 2-0. If you didn't see it, didn't hear about it, you must live under a rock. But the Cavaliers lose 120-119 on a Tyrese Halliburton game-winning three to put it into perspective. It basically felt like the Michael Jordan shot all over again that so many people talk about from the late 80s. It was brutal. It was tough. So let's dive into it, Kevin. I mean, I think it just adds, I know that it's not like a championship game by technical standards, but I think it's right up there, and you could add it to the list of all these other Cleveland sports heartbreaks that we have come to know in our whole life.
Yeah, and this is probably the most heartbreaking loss, being a Cavs fan, since maybe that Derrick Rose buzzer beater in Chicago back in 2015. It's been a while since we've experienced a heartbreaking loss like this. Maybe even Game 1, 2018 finals, somewhere up there. But I can say right now, this is probably the most shell-shocked I've been for something negative happening as a Cleveland sports fan since Judge and Stanton went back-to-back in the ALDS against the Tribe.
Or ALCS.
ALCS, excuse me, yeah. Yeah, since they went back to back, it was very very demoralizing. I can't imagine that team's got honestly too much confidence going right now, because this is a team that, regardless of if Garland, Hunter, Mobley, three of our top 6 players for sure, maybe top 7 players out of the game. We still saw a 20-point lead in that game, and this was a team up 7 points with 45 seconds left that genuinely looked like they had not closed out a game the entire year. They looked lost. They looked like a deer in the headlights.
So, if we're going to go down that road, when the Guardians lost to the Yankees, or ended up when Judge and Stanton went back-to-back, they did win that game in triumphant fashion, so maybe the Cavs could come back. Right off the bat, let's address the elephant in the room. We're both dead wrong. We said Cavs in 5. It's not even going to be close to that. I
guess it could be Cavs in 6.
It could be. I don't
envision that happening. If the Cavs win this series, I think it's got to be. I think the only way possible is in 7.
It could be done in 6, but it's unlikely. So yeah, let's call it for what it is. It's unlikely. So we were wrong, and let's talk about and dive into why we're wrong. What has gone wrong for the Cavaliers in this series? What has made things so difficult? Well, let's first talk about obviously the big one. Darius Garland has not played in this series.
He hasn't played since he called Tyler Hero out.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. That's factual. Evan Mobley rolled his ankle, did not make the coach too happy, and he's been very vocal about that pretty much on 2 different occasions. Coach Atkinson wasn't happy. No landing zone, and he rolls his ankle and does not play. I guess that they're calling it a sprain now. And then DeAndre Hunter, a sprained thumb on his shooting hand, and that was from when Benedict Mathurin obliterated him, as Kenny Atkinson said. And that's a direct quote from Coach. He obliterated him. So that's the number one reason. You miss all those guys. It's a significant amount of bodies and key contributors to miss. Number 2, the Pacers shot the daylights out of the basketball in Game 1. Shot the ball better than they had all year from three-point range. Number 3, a lot of people are saying the Cavs are getting out-physicaled. That's just the kind of team I think Indiana is and their coach should be. Now, are they drawing the line a little too far sometimes? I think so, and I'd like to talk about that conversation in a few minutes down the road here. But regardless, I think those are your three top reasons why we're sitting here in an 0-2 hole as Cavs fans.
I think the number one reason to what you said would obviously be the injuries that we faced. Like I mentioned earlier, 3 out of our top 7 players not playing in Game 2, and then obviously Garland out in Game 1, who was an all-star this year. So obviously very big losses through 2 games. But I think the number 2 option, and one that you haven't said yet, is where has Ty Jerome been?
Well, he's been there.
Well, that's yeah.
He's just been about as ineffective.
He's been horrible. You shoot 1 of 14 from the field in Game 2. If he shoots 2 of 14, we win that game. If he makes a bunny, if he makes an open 3-pointer that he shot a couple of them the other night, it's very frustrating right now. And to your point of the Pacers being the more physical team, we said that about the Knicks in 2023. We said that the Magic were out physicaling us and in the Magic series in 2024. And then obviously Boston's Boston last year. But I feel like we just run into this team every year that out-physicals us. And we talk about, I feel like we talked about some of the Knicks players being dirty in 2023. I know for a fact we talked about some Magic players being dirty in 2024. And was listening to Ken Carman this morning talk about this. Maybe we're just not a physical team. And when somebody pushes us around a little bit, we just get flustered. Because this is the 3rd straight year.
Well, that could be the case. I'll say this. I don't necessarily think the Cavs are being that much out physical. I really don't. I mean, I think they are at points, but I also think this too. Like, people tend to go to that as a hot button issue. When a team's not underperforming, it's, they're getting out physical. They're getting out physical. People love to jump to that conclusion. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case. The Cavs are still like getting in the quote-unquote hustle stats. They're still getting plenty of offensive rebounds. They're rebounding well defensively. Are they fouling Indiana as hard as Indiana's fouling them? No.
I mean, when they take it to the hole, it just gets swiped right from them. I can't even count how many times Ty Jerome's had the ball stripped from his hands, just driving into the paint.
No, yeah, and I do want to touch on your Ty Jerome point, but I don't know if it's necessarily totally outfit. The only element of that I really see is Indiana is fouling them harder when they drive into the paint than we are fouling them.
Which, I mean, the story would tell that we have three players out.
So that's where maybe you could say out physical. But I don't think it's as big of an issue as, and I did put it in there because I thought into my 3 key reasons, because I do think it's still a factor, but I don't think it's now one that you brought up that's 100% true is the Ty Jerome falling asleep at the wheel.
He's completely lost out there. I even saw a video just before we started recording of him like just basically walking on defense when he was away from the play, and his guy ends up getting an open 3-point shot. It's not even just the offensive stuff that speaks volumes when you're watching the game. That stuff is loud. That's stuff that you see in the moment. You don't see those lazy plays sometimes as they're happening. And
I think another element of it with Ty Jerome is, look, even in the first, like, he's just out of sorts altogether right now, right? Like, even in the first game, he had 21 points, but it was just like an efficient, like, not effective 21 points. Like, just wasn't great. Then last night, obviously, he was horrendous. And if this trend continues, he's costing himself millions and millions of dollars. And I know Chris Fedor just said that today, on a radio show that we were listening to over here on WTM 1100. But it's 100% true. Ty Jerome's cost himself millions, and I think maybe the stage is too big for him, and he thrives in that 6-man role. And I don't know, with him starting, it might be a little too much, but let's say even he goes back to his 6-man role. He's just doing uncharacteristic things. He's missing shots. He's turning the thing over. He's trying to take over on offense and act like he's Donovan Mitchell, and he's so far from it. There's just so much going on with Ty Jerome, and what the hell's going on? I mean, this is just not the player we watched who should have won 6-man of the year in a lot of our opinions.
Yeah, I agree, and I actually want to do a little bit of critique on Kenny Atkinson from Game 2 specifically, because when things weren't weren't going well for the Cavs, or actually when things were going well for the Cavs, he decided to throw out Craig Porter Jr. there for a few minutes. I don't know the exact amount of time he was out there. I'd say maybe 5 minutes. Okay, yeah, 4 minutes of game time. And it was a loud 4 minutes. He was everywhere. He was making shots. He was being physical. He was playing great defense. There was a play that he tipped the ball 2 or 3 times before he finally got it, and then that leads to a fast break. It's a 4 or 5 point swing in the Cavs' favor. And then we take him out and he doesn't play the rest of the game. If those are the minutes that he's going to give you, are you watching Ty Jerome out there right now? Are you watching what Craig Porter was doing last night or Tuesday night? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I just don't see them doing that. Is taken away. And I think they should because, and I said this today to a friend of mine who I was talking with about this game on the phone. I said, they got to treat Game 3 like it is Game 7.
Yeah, they have to treat it as a win or go home 100%.
They need to treat Game 3 like they're going to, even though they won't be mathematically, in a lot of our minds and hearts, they'll be officially eliminated. Do they not win that game tomorrow?
I think they are officially, yeah.
Excuse me, on Friday.
I think they are officially eliminated if they lose on Friday because we've never seen a team come back from 3-0. It's never happened. So you go down 3-0, it's over. You go down 3-1, and the game comes back to Cleveland, and there's a game back in Cleveland. You still got a shot. Now, I will say Game 2 I was counting as a must-win, and we lost, and here I am talking myself back into the Cavs have a shot in this series still, blah, blah, blah. But they do. They got to win. Game 3 is an absolute must-win because if they go down 3-0, it's over.
Well, and I'll tell you this. I think they need to win both in Indiana.
I mean, that's the preference, right? But we've seen teams come back from 3-1 before. We've never seen a team come back from 3-0. That's why I'm saying I'm not completely ruling it out. If they win Game 3 and lose Game 4, if they lose Game 3, it's over.
In my opinion, if they split in Indiana, it's over. Like, that's the way I look at it. I don't see them coming back through. Like, you tie that thing up, then it really becomes a series that favors.
Well, then you got home court again.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting to. Then it becomes a series that favors you because 2 of your next 3 are at home. So I think things would definitely be better.
Yeah, they would have to be. They would have to be, except at that point, now you're looking at, so the Cavs lose 2 home games and win 2 away games. Is home court really an advantage at that point?
Well, then it'd just be a bizarre series.
It would be a bizarre series. I forget what series it was. For some reason, I want to say Jimmy Butler was involved, but I can't remember if this was right when he got to the Heat or what team he was a part of at the time. But for some reason, I remember there being a series where the away game had won every single game, and it went to 7 games. The away team won every game. But I can't remember what series that was. I might actually try to do a little bit of digging on that.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember where that series. Why don't you?
I will. I'm going to see if I can find it.
Because I was going to make this point too. Look, they came in here and stole 2 from you. You got to steal 2 from them now. But Kevin, another thing I wanted to touch on it, and we kind of drove the Ty Jerome point home. I mean, he was awful, and Kenny could have went to Craig Porter Jr. 100%. And I agree with you on that. And another thing that just watching this series and thinking about it, I think that this series calls for an old friend, a guy who's been around for a long time. If people want to talk about the physical thing, he's not going to offer you much. But if you're worried about physical, then why don't you send Tristan Thompson out there for only like 4 or 5 minutes, let him rough a few people up, kick the crap out of a few people, and move on.
I wouldn't mind basically having him in that Kendrick Perkins role. I'm having trouble pulling that up right now.
That's fine. But, I think Tristan Thompson, maybe a couple minutes, because there was a point last night where Jared Allen was so exhausted that every beat writer who covers our team had tweeted about it. Jared Allen's exhausted. Greg Anthony on the TNT as the color commentator had made a point. Spiro Dita as the play-by-play, and it's like, yeah, I mean, he's the only true center playing last night, and it brings you to wonder if everybody's so concerned about this physical stuff, and clearly it's bothering Kenny too. He's talked about it a lot. If everybody's so, then let Tristan Thompson be the enforcer. I mean, what do you have to lose to let him go out there for 4 or 5 minutes, get like 3 hard fouls, beat the crap out of a few people, and then sit back down?
And then maybe the Pacers take it a little easier or something like that. No, I agree with you. And I would say Game 2 in particular, there was zero excuse as to why he didn't touch the floor. Because to what you were just saying, Jared Allen's the only true center that's part of that rotation. Evan Mobley can play center, and that's kind of what their game plan has been through the Heat series and through the Pacers series so far has been Allen or Mobley. One of them is going to be at the 5 the entire time. We're not going to give up that size. And you didn't have Mobley game 2, so you got to adjust. What better adjustment is it to have not only a veteran in Tristan Thompson, but a guy who has played in the NBA Finals, started in the NBA Finals, and won an NBA Finals? To have him, to what you just said, 5 minutes, what is that?
No, because
Maybe
I think if it's any more than 5 minutes, it's a liability.
Well, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What is 5 minutes at that point?
No, it's something that they got to consider doing. Now, another thing that I thought last night, Javonte Green played good minutes, and Kenny said
Yeah,
he
he
was
did.
reluctant to go back to the bench because he wanted to go to his better players who were the starters. I thought that Javonte Green was a guy who could have played a couple more minutes last night. I thought Sam Merrill fulfilled his role perfectly last night. He came off the bench. He gave you hot shooting. I believe he was 4 or 9 from the floor, or 4 or 9 from 3, 5 of 10 total from the floor. That's a great job by Sam Merrill. Max Strus, elite job until the final few minutes. Obviously, we know what happened there.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to say he had the obviously the huge inbounds play. He had trouble getting another inbounds in, and then there was a play with like 16 to 20 seconds on the shot clock where he drove in and did a reverse layup that I don't even know if it touched the backboard, and the Pacers get the ball back. Like, there were, in the last 3 minutes of that game, there were so many, and I don't think a lot of this honestly can go on Kenny Atkinson because these are guys who have been playing basketball for 20 plus years. Like, you know the ins and outs of the game and what's a smart play and what's not. So what are we doing if we're up 6-7 points with 2 minutes left? Why are we rushing a wasted possession and chucking something up just airborne under the rim and just praying to God for a foul or something?
No, and I don't really want to, like, look, Max, that was terrible, and there's no two ways about it.
And they were rushing possessions the last final minutes. That's just one possession in particular, but there were multiple possessions with 15-plus seconds on the shot clock where why are we hurrying? We're winning the game right now.
Excuse me. And I don't want to, thank you. And I don't want to, harp on Max because he really was their second best player last night.
No, he was phenomenal. He was
phenomenal. He was excellent, but those final couple minutes, I don't know why they couldn't figure out how to inbound the basketball. And I'm going to put on, and I don't know what Kenny drew up or him and his assistant coaches. I don't know what was called, but, like, why was there inbounds play? Like, why wasn't there a better play? Like, because even if Max Strus gets that ball in, there's only like one Cav in your TV screen if you go back and watch it. Like, where were the other guys at, and what the hell were they doing?
I don't know. I have no idea. Like, that's one of those possessions, too, and I'm typically not a fan of having Donovan Mitchell inbound the basketball because you want the ball in his hands and you want him to just immediately start running the offense when he gets the ball. But in a possession like that, like, why not put your best passer? Not that Max Strus is a bad passer, but he's not the best passer on the team. Why don't you have them be the inbound passer and just get it to a reliable free throw shooter?
I don't know. I really would love to know what the hell they were thinking in that last huddle there because it was mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was.
And I look. And then, obviously, we hammered the Ty Jerome point. I thought Jared Allen played a very, very, very solid game.
Yeah, I thought he was
night.
fine out there. There were a couple plays I actually did think that he got out-physicaled in terms of rebounding, but for the most part, and when he's the only big that's even running at that point, like, I get you're going to lose out on a couple of those, but...
No, I thought Jared Allen was very effective last night. I thought Dean Wade didn't score a lot, but, boy, he played great defense and really... was a big force on the boards. I believe he had 12 rebounds last night.
Oh, really? He was that? Yeah. I mean, his defense and rebounding and shooting speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really do anything on the offensive floor, end of the floor, I should say. But like I said, Merrill did his part, and everybody did their part. And then, obviously, let's talk about all these role players who stepped up. We mentioned several. We mentioned Dean. We mentioned Max. We mentioned Sam. Even Javonte Green didn't score at all, but he gave you good minutes. I know another guy who you're a big guy on is Okoro. I mean, he's just so useless on the offensive end. It's tough. But
yeah, the only thing I'll say about him is I do think he has had some hustle plays that have gained us another possession or two per game that have been nice to have. But if you're open for three, and this is a guy that I have when the fan base has been down on him, I have defended his his three-point shooting percentage that has gone up to 38, 39%. Granted, it's very minimal threes that he's taking. At this point, and you're gonna love me saying this, I would give all the Okoro minutes to Javonte Green right now. Just a veteran. He's gonna hit the open shot. He's gonna make the right play. He's not gonna be a liability, I think, anywhere you put him on the court. I think he can play 2 through 4. He'd be a smaller 4 at 6'5", but he's physical enough to be able to compete down low with some of these big guys. I would give all those minutes to Javonte Green right now.
Yeah, I would too, because at least he's a threat on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, and he's not a bad defender. Like, Okoro's a better defender for sure, but Javonte Green is by no means a slouch defensively. He'll hold his own.
Yeah, and I wonder, I think a lot of that, how many minutes Green's going to get versus Okoro. Like, if Hunter is able to play on Friday, which I would think, in my personal opinion, and I don't have MD after my name, and I'm certainly not professing to be some type of athletic trainer or anything, but just from my own personal opinion, and I have nothing else to draw from it, I have no sources or anything, I would assume Hunter would be the least likely one to play, because your thumb is what balances your whole hand, and if you can't shoot the ball, I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how he's going to play.
Where are you actually on the injury standpoint right now? Because I know that there is a little bit of a divide right now in the fan base on whether you're defending the players or you're basically saying these guys got to be out there and playing. Are you on either side, or are you somewhere in the middle right now?
I'm somewhere in the middle, and the reason why is, I don't know who's making the call, because I know you were referencing something from the Ken Carman show today. Ken Carman's show yesterday had Jared Greenberg on, who is the TNT sideline reporter.
He was the one that broke the news that this could be the Cavs are starting to worry about the Garland injury, correct?
Yes.
Or significant concern, I think was his exact phrase.
Right, and he also said that Darius Garland walked right up to him on Sunday night and told him he was going to play last night. Well, that didn't happen. And so if Darius Garland's telling you he's going to play and then he doesn't play, is this the organization holding him out? Like, what? That's where I know a lot of people, including, like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, especially on Friday, they need to, buck up and get out there. Like, Donovan looks hurt as all can be. And we haven't talked about him, and we'll get to Donovan here in a minute. But I don't know if it's the organization, if it's these players, and that's why I'm somewhere in the middle, Kevin, because I don't know whose call this is. But whoever the heck's call it is, I want to see these guys out there, and they're going to need them, or they're not going to win the damn series.
No, they've got no shot if these guys aren't playing. I think they genuinely have to be at full force, too, because I think even if you get Garland and Mobley back, Hunter's presence has been so significant since we acquired him from Atlanta back in February now, that just being that guy off the bench, being that such a reliable jump shot, whether it's mid-range or three-point shot, just the way that he can defend, too, guards 1 through 5, he's such a significant part of this team. I don't think it's enough if one of those guys is out the remainder of the series. I think you need all three of them.
Well, back to how we originally got into that is, if Hunter comes back, then you might see Okoro and Green cut from the rotation. But again, just my own personal opinion, nothing else I'm basing this off of. I would assume Hunter would be the one who'd be out the longest.
Yeah.
Because Mobley, even if it's a sprained ankle, if it's not a high ankle sprain, he could get out there and at least give you limited minutes, you would think. And Darius, I don't know. I mean, what's going on with his foot? I don't know.
I saw somebody say that his toe better be on the verge of amputation for him not playing the last 4 games.
Well, I do know that.
You think he has gout?
There's a chance.
You think?
There's a chance. I do think that.
You think he might have gout?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a young, able-bodied, 25-year-old male, but hey, gout could get anybody, man.
Yeah, it could.
You don't know. So who knows? Maybe he does. I mean, there's a chance. Not
yes,
rolling it out.
there could be a chance, yeah.
I'm not rolling it out. Darius Garland, man. But
although I did read a report, I believe, that when Garland said he's felt good enough to practice and he has gone out and practiced, that his toe hasn't reacted so well to when he was out on the floor and practicing with them. So if you can't even get him out on the floor to practice without that thing swelling up, I don't know how he can play on Friday.
Yeah, well, that was the interesting thing that, a lot of the media who's covering this series said that they went to the full squad practice on Friday before the first game Sunday, and he didn't look so good. That's the reports that came out of.
In terms of like how he looked playing wise, or just like he looked like he was laboring a little bit?
In terms of how he looked playing wise,
like jump shot wasn't falling.
Like he looked like it was a clear hindrance into his performance.
I got you. Okay.
And especially for a guy like him, where he's so shifty and things, you got to be able to quick start, quick stop. And if your foot's acting up like that, or your toe in particular, I don't know. Makes it very challenging. Now, what was interesting last night is obviously Kenny Atkinson post-game presser. He's going through all the emotions. Someone asked him if he expected those guys to play, and he said one or two of them on Friday.
Which one or two are you? So you're thinking definitely no Hunter on Friday. You've kind of alluded to that. If it's 1 to 2 out of the 3, then it's probably not going to be Hunter based off of what you were saying earlier.
I have no idea. For some reason, I just feel like the best chance would be Ev
to play.
Yeah,
I do too. I think the best chance would be for Evan to play as well. Yeah, and then Garland probably second, I guess. I would also say Hunter's probably the least likely to play on Friday, just because what your point, the shooting hand, like try shooting with 4 fingers and not your thumb. It ain't happening.
Well, your thumb is your balance point.
Well, I know. It's you ain't doing it.
No, and I don't know. Kenny's gonna have to like you got to change something up in the rotation. Like this is the time where we're show off that coach of the year. Show off that trophy, Kenny. Like you got to change something. Whether we've suggested maybe Tristan Thompson, maybe Javonte Green. We've suggested quite a few different things, and I'm not so sure which one of those he's going to do, but I need Kenny to come up with something.
Would you switch up the starting lineup at all?
I would think about, honestly,
anything
going with Merrill again. If Garland doesn't play, I would go Donovan and Merrill.
Yeah, and bring Jerome off the bench.
Yeah, because right now, Ty Jerome is just, he's just I hate to be so critical, but good God, he's just a hindrance to everything they're trying to do functionally as a basketball team.
The more I'm thinking about it, I might actually go Strus at the 2, keep Wade at the assuming that all 3 players are out, let's say. I would probably go Strus at the 2, Wade at the 4, obviously Allen at the 5, and then I would put like Javonte Green or something at the 3, honestly. I feel like Strus and Merrill are just like too similar of players to have out there.
I think Strus is a much better defender. He's got more size. I don't necessarily agree with that they're too similar of players. I think there's some differences.
I think like offensively though, basically they just kind of both hang outside on the 3-point line.
Yeah, I think Strus is much more physical in the paint. Like
for sure.
I don't know.
Strus was running that second unit though for us in game 2. I noticed they kept him out there to try to run that second unit a lot.
Strus played the most minutes. Strus played 40 minutes. So, and let's talk about Donovan Mitchell finally. I thought this guy did everything he could have last night. He
could have made a couple more free throws.
Yeah, he could have, and he also did go 1 of 7. But for all things considered, I thought he gave you an excellent performance. He needed to step up. He did. He had 45 points, I think like 8 assists, 6 rebounds or something like that. He did everything he could, but you wonder from his point of view, he's thinking I had 45 points, what more, I don't know what else he could have done besides, like you said, maybe knock down a few more threes or a few more free throws. But I thought it was a master class of performance from Donovan Mitchell, and it's just a damn shame it's not going to end in a victory.
Yeah, I thought Donovan had a great game. I thought it could have even been better, just based off, obviously, missed a couple of free throws. But early on in that first quarter, he missed like 3 shots that were right at the rim, like layups. That obviously would have been nice to have. It would have helped the score out a little bit more towards the end there.
Yeah, you could look at it like that, or you could say Ty Jerome go 2 of 14 from the floor instead of 1 of 13.
I mentioned that earlier. I agree. I think there were a lot of things that everybody could have done differently in that game to make that outcome different. I just can't believe that they blew a 7-point lead in like 43 seconds.
To me, it was one of those typical Cleveland losses. I sat there speechless for a long time, and it's just like one of those in this city, we know heartbreak well, Kevin. We know it well. Maybe better than anybody.
They find new ways to do it though. That's like,
I mean,
they do.
Yeah. By the way, if this thing gets to a Game 5, let's the crowd down at Rocket Arena, can we cool it on the Tyrese Halliburton overrated chance? Because he showed us last night.
Yeah, I think he's obviously not overrated too. I've always kind of been a fan of Tyrese Halliburton's game.
Well, I think it was, the Cavs fans weren't the first ones to voice that. That came out of an athletic
right. No,
players poll.
I know exactly where that's from. Yeah, it's just, And Donovan, as soon as they started chanting, Donovan was trying to get the crowd to shut up, and so did TNT. They kept doing that whole thing with the...
Yeah, can we talk about that, too? I mean, if we're going to talk about things to complain about, I was livid with the TNT audio last night. Every time that the Cavs fans got in an uproar, the audio went down. Then the players' hot mics were too loud because you hear a lot of four-letter words in the court that the children at home probably shouldn't
Not
be hearing.
safe for work.
Yes, NSFW.
Yeah.
And then... I mean, the audio engineer, Kevin, the whole 4 quarters, the guy couldn't figure it out. Now, obviously, I'm looking for things to criticize and complain about now, and I'm still bitter and hurt.
Well, it was
last
annoying.
night.
We kept turning up the volume to then it would get exceptionally loud to the point where we'd have to turn it down, and then we couldn't hear because the audio went back down.
I
it's
mean,
like
whoever was in charge of the audio for TNT, I'm sorry.
They should be
you
jobless.
Failed at your job last night, and do not, please. If you don't fire this audio engineer, please do not put him on Game 3 of Cleveland, Indiana, because it was miserable.
Actually,
was miserable.
I wouldn't mind if he was on Game 3 because then the Indiana crowd might get a little quieter. We won't have to hear the Indiana crowd too much.
Yeah, I still no. I can't take another game and watch him with that. That was horrendous.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough watch.
Then the players' hot mics were too loud. I mean, it was just they could not figure out the audio all night long.
Speaking of other critiques throughout the game, what did you think of Tony Brothers' crew this time around?
Well, I was going to have a whole conversation about officiating. And that guy, that Tony Brothers, he's all about himself. That guy likes being at the video monitor more than any official in any sport. And I got a general problem with the NBA officiating in general. And I'm not sitting here and can I sit here and nitpick what they messed up against the Cavs last night? Because as great of a play as it was, it ended up being a huge play and a huge reason they won. The putback dunk that everybody wants to talk about was a lane violation.
Yeah, but I will say, though, as Cleveland fans, do we really have that much room to complain about it, though? Because that's how Donovan Mitchell ended up getting his 71-point game a couple years ago.
Yeah, no, we don't. But it's a thing that...
No, I understand. It's an inconsistent thing that's never called, and when it is, it's like that's when you call that sort of thing, the lane violation. Yeah, it's got to be cleaned up, and the problem that I have with it the most is that you see all of this called every single time in college basketball. Like, college officials genuinely do it the right way. They don't call a foul unless it's egregious, typically. You still get the bad calls, which you'll have in any sport.
Right.
But I would say that 90 to 95% of the time they get it right in college, it seems, which I'll take that percentage all day.
So this Tony Brothers character, he's all about himself. I mean,
that's what you were saying.
Yeah, this guy... He's always at the monitor, and then he gives these real long explanations, and like you see him on the court, he's always trying to draw the attention. Like it is not about you, Tony. It's about the players. It's about the coaches. It's not about the officials. We don't want to see you or hear from you, really, unless
it's egregious.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's my problem with the NBA officiating, and I had a long conversation with a good friend of mine about that today. And here's where I am with that. The NBA needs to figure out what they want to do moving forward as a league. And the reason I say that is you can't go from what I call from breathing to blood. And what I mean is all year, if these guys breathe on one another, they're blowing the whistle, Kevin. Yeah. All year long. It's nonstop. And then you get to the playoffs and you hear, they're going to let them play now. They're going to let them play, to the point where they let them play too much. And it's like, unless somebody's bleeding, they're not blowing the whistle. And like, to me, it's not fair to the coaches and players, because how can you go from training your guys to do one thing all year where, if you're in the same vicinity as a man, they're going to blow the whistle and call a foul. Then in the playoffs, these guys are getting slapped, scratched, and punched, and they're calling nothing. And that's where I have a problem.
Would you rather have it? Would you rather have it that way, or would you rather have the James Harden way, where you just kind of flail your hands up or flail your arms up in the air and then a whistle's blown? Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have they let them play? If you were to pick an extreme, would you rather pick breathing or blood?
I'm going to say blood, but I want that the whole year. Don't
I 100%. I don't think the calls should change once it comes playoff time.
Like my friend today who I was talking to, he brought this to my attention. He goes, the NBA has a real officiating problem. And I said, what do you mean? And he brought this whole theory to me. And when he presented it to me, I couldn't agree more, because it's like you can't call it one way where the coaches are coach to coach and the players are trained to play like a certain way all year, and then completely reverse course when you get to the playoffs of the way you would call these games. And I don't know what their goal is. I mean, my theory behind it is that they try to attract in the playoffs that older fan who complains the NBA is not physical like it used to be. And you know exactly what kind of fans I'm talking about, where you hear, all they do is shoot threes and they don't call call a foul on everything. Are they trying to get those guys back? Maybe that's their strategy. But even if you want to bring back that, I mean, it's just wrong. And I think the NBA in general is in a little bit of a crisis point because they're suffering. I mean, their ratings are in the tubes.
Now, I will say that the NBA has done a better job over the last few years of getting away from the breathing, which is what you're saying, the breathing part of it. Because I remember the days where Kevin Love, which I'm actually wearing his jersey right now, was just as guilty as anybody for jumping like sideways into a defender and getting the 3-point shot. And finally the NBA came down, and now it's an illegal, or not an illegal, but an abnormal shooting motion to get away from doing stuff like that. So they have listened to the fans at least a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if you're getting, this is what I'm talking about when I say and this is for like the NFL too, I would say, I don't like there to be over officiating, and I would rather it be absolutely egregious for you to call it. Like if something's very ticky-tack, I would say no matter what, just let it go. If it's a ticky-tack, whether it's a foul or not, if it's ticky-tack, just let it go.
Well, I'll at least give the NFL credit in the sense of they call a penalty on everything all year. They're ticky-tack all year. But they stay ticky-tack in the playoffs. And yeah, we hate it as fans, and we think it's crap. But at least you stay the same. And, like, for example, in baseball, you don't see the strike zone go from this giant rectangle in the regular season to this, miniature little teeny finger-sized square in the playoffs. Like, no other sport does this, and I just don't understand what their goal is and what their play is with this, the way that they call everything during the regular season. And I agree they've made a few strides. And then another thing that my same friend brought to my attention today too, if you're not going to ever bother calling lane violations, or you're not going to ever bother calling travels or carries, just get them out of your rule book. Like, why have them? Because you never call them, you never whistle them, so what's the purpose of them?
Yeah. I 100% agree, man. And those are the same things that are called, like we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. Those are the same things that are called religiously when it comes to college basketball.
Right. And that's a good point by you, too. And it's just like one of those things where the NBA, I think, has an officiating problem maybe as bad or worse than the NFL.
I would say it's worse than the NFL. I
think it might be.
I would actually. This is kind of going into a little bit of a conspiracy rabbit hole here, but do you think that the officiating might be over-officiated during the regular season so the NBA can kind of control maybe the wins and losses a little bit to get some of the teams they might want to be safe, to whereas in the NBA playoffs, there's more eyes on it, so you can't really control it as much. Like, nobody's watching. Like, how many games did you just randomly turn on of, like, the Denver Nuggets this year? Just randomly.
I mean, if they were on Friday night and I was at, an establishment or whatever.
Sure, and it was a nationally televised game.
Yes, I'd say I watched maybe 6 Nuggets games.
Exactly.
Like
so
pieces or parts and not even the whole thing.
So your eyes are only what's available to you. So we're only seeing the Cavs games mostly. Nuggets fans are only seeing Nuggets games, blah, blah, blah. So they can't really look at a Cavs game, let's say from a Nuggets fan perspective. They can't look at a Cavs game and say, oh, the refs controlled that, like we could at that time. And the NBA and the playoffs, you're watching all those games. all of those calls end up coming under scrutiny and stuff like that.
So it's interesting. I mean, well, the only, as you know, the other team that I watch pretty consistently be the Knicks, and that's about it. The Cavs and the Knicks are probably my two consistent.
So a little bit heartbreaking for you with the Cavs being down 0-2, but your Knicks are up 1-0.
Well, you know what? I think, a fair point it's interesting in getting back, and I just had to express that if those are thoughts on the officials, because I think it is ridiculous. That Rick Carlisle is trying to argue, for instance, last night, that Benedict Mathurin did not foul Max Strus, or was it Donovan? I think it was Max.
Oh, yeah, when his
Strus.
nose is bleeding.
Max Strus was bleeding.
Yeah.
Benedict Mathurin unintentionally picked Max Strus's nose for him.
Yeah, it was unintentional. Yeah.
And
Still
it's
did
just,
it, though.
It's frustrating. And that's why I think to combat the way the officials are calling this, and to combat Rick Carlisle and his Pacers, I really want, again, Tristan Thompson minutes on Friday night.
Well, that depends for me on if Evan Mobley is going to be playing on Friday, because I don't think we need to send Tristan Thompson out there if we already have two bigs and Allen and Mobley that can split the time at center. Unless things start to get chippy, then I definitely would send him out there for a few minutes. I'd be all in favor of that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. One other thing I did want to touch on the Cavs, the minutes thing, and Kenny Atkinson's comment after the game that live in person, because we were watching the game together and we didn't talk. No words were exchanged for about 10 minutes. We were just both sitting there heartbroken.
After the Halliburton three.
And I happened to go on X, which, by the way, you could follow us there, too, at CLE Sports Realm. Yep. And I happened to go on X, and I see that Kenny Atkinson says, quote, "We ran out of gas." And I just about blew the roof down off my house. I
threw up in my mouth when I read that.
I was furious. You, Kenny, sat these guys on their backsides all year long and told everybody who was willing to listen to you that we're getting ready for the playoffs and this is the way we're going to do it.
And you had the longest break in between rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So come on. You had enough rest throughout the season and in between rounds.
But
you
get
to game 2 and they just ran out of gas.
You told everybody, anybody who would listen to you, this is the way we're going to be able to go through the playoff grind and getting all 16 of those wins. And then, I'm not picking on him, but Jared Allen could hardly get up and down the court, and Donovan Mitchell looked like he was one more trip up and down the court away from cardiac arrest.
Which obviously Mitchell played what? He played like 35 minutes
36.
Tuesday night, 36. So not necessarily an excessive amount of minutes by any means, especially when it comes to playoff standards. But I think a lot of that fatigue can be just attributed to how he had to play in game 2. Like
he drove the basket a lot.
He had to be in attack mode the entire game.
Right. And I'm not calling either of those guys out, but I'm saying you ran out of gas. Well, this is so your entire year-long experiment looks like it failed.
Yeah. I would say so, because in the offseason, we were giving them so much credit just within the last month or two about them going out and doubling down when nobody believed in this core four outside of basically Kobe Altman and the Cavs staff. Like, nobody believed in this core four in the city of Cleveland. They doubled down. We called them idiots for it. They went out, got the 1 seed, and now we start to have all this belief and this faith in this team just for them to be most likely at this minute a second-round exit. It was all for naught.
Well, and the other thing I'm going to say about that too is, I look like an idiot too, and I'll gladly admit when I'm wrong, and I did earlier about calling this a 5-game series, and you did too. We both took our punches. Another thing I'll take my punches off. I up and down Kenny Atkinson's a genius for what he's doing. He's resting these guys, and boy, it's going to turn. And now they've played so few minutes during the regular season. They're playing 40 minutes, and they look like they've never done it before in their entire lives. It's frustrating.
No, it is.
And then when the coach says you run out of gas after a loss like that, you have me ready to Oh man, was I angry? I mean, I know you saw. I was
Oh,
furious.
No, that comment, when you've had 82 games the entire year, you played 4 more against the Heat, you've already played 1 against the Pacers. We're talking about 80.
Oh, welcome back in. Sorry, we had a slight millisecond of technical difficulties, but nothing to be too worried about. So, Kevin, you were saying anyhow. So, you play these 82 games all year. You don't play that many minutes. You're resting, and
Yes.
now
You play 4 games against Miami. You come your 2 games into this Pacers series, so we're 88 games in, and we're talking about players running out of steam, and we're supposed to expect this team to play 98 minimum if they're going to go on and win a championship. It's kind of unacceptable, and you would think at some point throughout the year, I think this should be an eye opener for Kenny, whether the Cavs can dig themselves out of this hole or not. That next year you got to have some of these players. I would make it an effort once, maybe twice a month, to get them to the 40-minute marker during the regular season, so that they've experienced that fatigue before. Because when you get to the postseason and it's going like this, and you're talking about players running out of gas, I mean, come on. We're supposed to be a championship caliber basketball team up there with the Celtics and Thunder, is where everyone's talking about us being up at that point, and we're talking about players are tired. Give me a break.
Well, and then you have the counter argument to that, where people said last year, well, Donovan got hurt in the playoffs because JB ran him into the ground. He played him 40 minutes every night.
JB was also doing that during the regular season, though.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I got you.
People said Donovan was hurt in the playoffs because JB ran into the ground during the regular season. So they just can't, and then they totally changed the approach this year. And so I don't know what is the right approach,
Well,
and neither do they, clearly.
Last year, I would say with JB had some stupid, random 40-minute Donovan Mitchell outings where the Cavs would be up by 15 points, 3 minutes, 30 seconds left in the game, 3 minutes left in the game, and Donovan Mitchell's out there still up 20 points maybe with 3 minutes left. Like, some of those were stupid. I feel like I've trusted Kenny with that before, to where, okay, now we're seeing Craig Porter, Sam Merrill, we're seeing Jalen Tyson out there getting minutes when we're up 20 points with 3 to 4 minutes left in the game.
Right. And I don't know what is the right approach, because you could argue that if you play these guys heavy minutes, then they're ready for it, but then they also, like, I'm going to use a team that we just discussed a couple minutes ago. Let's use the New York Knicks as an example, because Tom Thibodeau is famous for running his guys into the ground, as people say. And last year, that literally and figuratively did happen against the Pacers. I mean, they were down to a 6-man rotation by the time that they played game 5 and 6 against Indiana. And a lot of those people, well, Thibodeau ran those guys into the ground, and that's what a lot of folks said. But the thing is, on the flip side of that, Tom does that to his guys all regular season, where he only runs a 7 or 8-man rotation during the regular season. So the Josh Harts and OGs and Jalen Brunsons of the world are used to playing 43, 44 minutes. But what is the right approach? Because, look, the Cavs are saying they're out of gas, and then, I mean, on the flip side, Mikal Bridges played maybe his best game as a Knick the other night, and he played all 52 minutes of the game because it was a 48+4 in overtime. So I don't know. I'm no sports scientist, but I don't know what the right approach is. Is it drive the guys into the ground like Tom Thibodeau, or is it rest everybody until everybody's content like Kenny Atkinson? I don't know what it is.
Well, I think there's got to be a balance there. I don't think you can pick one of those extremes. I would actually take the Kenny Atkinson approach, but I would, like I said earlier, I would have the couple games a month that you make sure that your starters are playing heavy minutes. If it is a close game, make sure that they're playing heavy minutes, so that when it comes playoff time, this isn't the first time that they're seeing 40+ minutes.
Yeah.
They've seen it maybe 10 times throughout an 82-game season. Like that, I feel like that would be very much acceptable, right? Like, they're not playing 82 games at 40+ minutes, but you're not playing 0 games at 40+ minutes. Like, let's get some action where there's a close game, heated game. Maybe it's an in-division battle, or maybe it's a rivalry game. Celtics going to Boston, play those guys 40 minutes. They're seeing a playoff team, they're seeing a championship team. They're going to be playing heavy minutes. See how they can adjust to that.
It's very interesting, the whole thing, and like I said, there's people who tell these coaches, or probably try to influence these coaches one way or the other to do it, who are a hell of a lot smarter than yourself and me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, what the proper way is, and maybe this is just us just being upset as Cavs fans too, obviously, with everything that's happened. So, Game 3 Friday night, and it's a must win. They got to treat it like a Game 7.
Yeah,
you
it's a
said
must
it,
win.
I said it.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens.
Win or
we'll
go
see
home
who
for me.
plays. When this comes out tomorrow, we probably still won't know when this is released to the public, as we are again recording this on Wednesday evening.
We'll find out probably early Friday afternoon, if I were to guess.
Yeah, we didn't find
Based
out
off of
last night until about an hour beforehand.
Yeah, but we had a pretty good idea based off the shoot-around reports and
Yes,
stuff like
yes.
that. We did have a good idea.
So we'll see what happens, and obviously, maybe, this was very negative. And to be honest with you, because there's not much good for us to say about the Cavs right now, but maybe next week we come in here and we're getting ready for, who knows, Game 6 and 7, and then things are looking totally different.
That's what we're hoping for.
That's what we're hoping for. Let's go, Cavs. Come on,
let's
boys.
go,
Get
Cavs.
back
Come on.
Get back
I'm going to try to
into
keep
it.
a positive mindset, boys.
Come on, fellas. Come on.
Mo, Evan, we need you. Darius, we need you. DeAndre, we need you.
ya.
We want all three of you guys healthy. We're rooting for you guys to have a speedy recovery right now. We want you to guys be playing excellent basketball. And let's make a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. Come on.
How about it?
Come on.
Come on.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Cavs. Come on, boys. All right. So we do want to talk about something positive.
Shifting gears here.
We're going to shift gears, and we got to wrap it up with a little bit of Cleveland Guardians. How
Yeah,
about the Guardians?
buddy.
Gardos all the time, as they like to say. And, boy, Daniel Schneemann has been an admiration.
Yeah, he's got to be an everyday player right now. He has to be.
I mean, let's talk about things aren't looking so great on Saturday in Toronto, and Jose had sprained his ankle, which he miraculously came back from. Basically, after one day, you're hoping that Evan Mobley has the same luck as Jose Ramirez with ankle sprain to tie it all
I was
in.
wondering where you were going with
Tie
that,
it all in
actually.
together. But Jose came back on Sunday. I'm actually I'm driving because I went to the Pittsburgh Marathon, which I was going to touch on later here in odds and ends. But I went to Pittsburgh, so I'm listening to Tom Hamilton call the game, and he's like sitting there, and he's very negative about where the offense is going to come from without Jose. And Daniel Schneemann told Tom Hamilton to hold my beer because he hits a solo home run and then follows it up with a go-ahead grand slam. And they take 2 out of 3 in Toronto. And then they play a crazy first game of the doubleheader yesterday in D.C. And then they win the nightcap. They smoke them. And then today they don't do anything. They're down 3-0. They have a 8-run 6th inning. Don't score any other inning. Have this one big inning, and they end up taking 2 out of 3 in D.C. So a 4-2 road trip altogether, coming off of taking 3 of 4 from the Twins, and that gives us our grand total of.
They've won 7 out of 9.
How about it? And right now, it's hard to complain, and it looks like my buddy Carlos Santana swung the bat excellent in D.C.
He had a great D.C. series.
Gabriel Arias, 4-hit game today. He's got to be your everyday shortstop. As Kevin said, Schnee's got to be your everyday second baseman. And Kevin, it's time for Brian Rocchio to either be a Columbus Clipper or be hanging out with Stephen Vogt in the dugout.
Yeah, which is, I will say, a little bit unfortunate because I was really hoping that he was going to carry that hot October into April and May, and it just hasn't happened yet. And we can't be wasting time right now experimenting with Brian Rocchio anymore. You just got to put the hot hands in there, which has been Schneemann and Gabriel Arias, excuse me. And I wanted to shout out one of our very good friends and every week listener, Phil Yan, for bringing this comparison. Is Daniel Schneemann the new David Fry to this team right now?
Yeah,
just a random utility guy coming to fruition, and
I think Daniel Schneemann could be 24's David Fry, and then I mean, who knows? I mean, the way I've never seen Daniel Schneemann just not miss like pitches in the zone. I mean, his plate coverage is excellent. He's laying off, the stuff outside the strike zone. I mean, everything just looks great. And same with Arias. And that's a guy who I sat here and, on our Guardians preview show said I thought he'd be maybe DFA'd by this point. And he's going to be a key contributor. And like you said, Rocchio, 0 for 27. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's really rough right now. And the the worst thing is, it's like the defense has not even like been that great this year either. So it's just all been negative.
Which is what you're hoping to get, obviously, if the offense isn't there. So if he's not giving you either, he's not even a good 9-hitter at that point.
No. And, I mean, it was really bad today. I got a chance to watch the end of the game, but not all of it because I was working, but I did get a chance to watch the end of it. And, I mean, we scored a run. He swung and missed on a wild pitch that was so wild the runner from third was able to score. I mean you're watching.
I would count that as an RBI. I'm messing around.
I ended up getting an RBI ground out later in the at-bat. But, I mean, you're watching this guy, and you could just see the kid's like, I know it doesn't work for everybody, but if they have anybody else, maybe it might be time for him to go to AAA. I mean, if he's that, I mean, the thing is, if Arias is every day short, Schneeman's every day second, you kind of do need a utility infielder, and they really seem hesitant to play Will Wilson anywhere but third.
I was actually going to bring that up, yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's the reason he's going to stick here, is to be a defensive replacement. But, I mean, he can't be playing every day anymore. It's just it's gotten too bad, too ugly.
No, I 100% agree, and it's not like he's a guy that, if Carlos Santana ends up getting on base in the top of the ninth and we need a run, it's not like you're going to pinch run Brian Rocchio.
No need for it. Bullpen, a little bit up and down the last week or so, but like I said, all things considered,
Kate Smith had a rough outing in
Kate
DC
Smith
the
had
other
a rough.
night.
He as good as some of those guys loved being in the nation's capital. Kate Smith couldn't wait to leave. I mean, he had a really rough series down there. So all in all, good things. 4-2 road trip, and the big boys come into town. Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, and those powerful and mighty Philadelphia Phillies coming in for a weekend series. Guardians getting a little national spotlight. They'll be on Sunday Night Baseball this weekend too. So will be an interesting series to see them match up. They're season high, 7 games above 500. So all good things to say right now, winning 7 of 9 and a good, successful road trip.
That's right. Good job out of the Tribe so far.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, keep it going, Gardos. All right, it's time for odds and ends. Greg Popovich is no longer going to be the coach. Do you know what he is going to be, though?
Yeah, I saw he's almost going to be like a front office member, correct?
He's referring it to as El Jefe.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So, Greg Popovich, honestly, I don't know. I mean, Phil Jackson would probably have an argument. There's a couple other guys, but, I mean, just to sum it up, one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. He has to be.
And you can make maybe an argument he is the best, but Greg Popovich, obviously still going to be pretty involved with the Spurs, it seems. And, I mean, the guy who's succeeding him was the guy who filled in for him this year and was his hand-picked successor. So it all makes sense. I think until the day Greg Popovich would pass away, he's going to have something to do with the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, you would think, right, at this point?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Little NFL news. It's been rumored for quite a while. George Pickens has been moved for a 3rd and a 5th round pick, and a 6th went with him to Dallas. And Jerry told the media a couple weeks ago he was working on some trades, and nobody believed him. And little did we know, Jerry Jones did have something up his sleeve, Kevin.
And I think this is a great acquisition for Dallas. Honestly, I think George Pickens is a phenomenal wide receiver too, and I think he actually complements CeeDee Lamb pretty well. I think the things that CeeDee doesn't do too well, Pickens does, and vice versa. I think they're going to work great with each other. And obviously, George Pickens never seemed like a player that Pittsburgh would typically have interest in re-signing. They've typically gotten away from the divas when they've shown diva qualities, and Pickens has been nothing but a diva since he's touched down in Pittsburgh. So not too shocked that he was traded. I love the fit for Pickens in Dallas. And I do kind of like the return for Pittsburgh, a 3 and a 5. This does signal for me for the Cowboys at least. If you're giving up a 3 and a 5, you've got to be looking at an extension, because a 3 and a 5, like, that's not just like draft capital that you sniff at typically.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought he would go for, is like something like a third.
I thought it was gonna be like a 2nd maybe.
Yeah, I didn't know that high, but to me, George Pickens is like, if you can get his head screwed on straight, he could be really talented. But Pittsburgh really in 3 years was able to do it for like spurts, but they were never able to get him to buy in for all 17. And we'll see if Jerry Jones of all people in Dallas can do that.
Yeah,
I'll
it'll
tell
be
you one
interesting.
thing: Pickens, with how much that guy he is gonna love how much media attention he gets being a Dallas Cowboy. He's gonna
absolutely
eat that
will
up,
be,
buddy.
He'll love having the star on the helmet.
Absolutely. So, Steelers and news that ties into our first odds and ends thing. Mike Tomlin, now with Greg Popovich officially becoming the El Jefe, as he so eloquently put, Mike Tomlin is the longest tenured head coach in North American sports at going into year 19. Thought that was a little interesting thing that tied it all together with the Popovich and the Pickens
that is
trade.
interesting. Yeah, and that's a good way to transition out of you. That was a good transition, by the way.
And finally, speaking of Pittsburgh, I attended, well, you folks can see by my size, I certainly didn't compete in it. I attended my first marathon in Pittsburgh on Sunday, watched it, and I got to say,
Was it a good time?
pretty cool, man. I was very impressed. Now, my brother Rob, who did co-host this program many months ago, he is competing in the half marathon for his first half in Cleveland here in a few weeks. So he had asked me to go down there and see, because he wanted to get a lay of the land, how it all works. And I have to say, man, those first and second place finishers, I don't know if we have any marathon runners out there. I know we do have at least one of our good buddies, Phil Sprons. And I got to give any of you folks credit. I don't know how the hell you run 26.2 miles in the time that you do. I mean, that is just
Or
remarkable.
in general, to be honest.
And remarkable. I mean, I agree with you. Just to complete the thing is a feat of its own. But you're watching this first place finisher come in with like 2 minutes, 2 hours. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean,
unbelievable.
And it was really cool to see. So I'll be attending my second in 3 weeks here. And Kevin, you're going to go because shout out your brother's actually
Yeah, my
doing
brother
the
will be
full
competing.
marathon.
Yeah, he's doing the full marathon. Rob's
Yeah.
doing the half. So it'll be a fun weekend in
Yeah,
Cleveland.
it should be for sure. And we're both attending, the Cleveland Marathon for the first time, so that'll be cool. Well, that'll do it for this week's program. I mentioned earlier you could follow us on X, on Instagram, on TikTok at CLE Sports Realm. You can find this podcast available. It's available for you on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music, thanks to our wonderful producer Derek. Did a great job again tonight. Instantly fixed our technical difficulty, made it seem like it didn't even happen.
Just unbelievable job.
Great job. Kevin, good work out of you.
Thank you. Great job out of you, by the way, too.
Thank you.
Thought you had a good show.
All right, well, thank you. I hope I did. We hope you guys all like it, too. Make sure to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, leave a comment. We appreciate it. We do not always reply, but we do read all of your comments, folks, so keep leaving them. We enjoy them. All right, everybody, have a good week. Go Cavs!
Go Cavs. Let's let them know.